We will go ahead and begin our meeting tonight. We'll have a call to order, and I will defer right now to Brian Yates to let him get things started tonight.
Okay, thank you, Scott. This is Brian Yates with Schwartz, Page and Harding, and welcome everybody to the MUD 36 Board of Directors meeting for Wednesday, May the 19th, 2021. As in prior meetings, I'll briefly go through the remote meeting procedures and perform a roll call. So to begin with, I need to remind everyone that the meeting is being recorded as required by the Texas Open Meetings Act. Second, please remember to state your name before you speak, include the making of any motions. When you're not speaking, please be sure to mute your line. Third, we'll continue the practice of having a roll call to vote on each motion. After a motion has been made and seconded, please wait until you hear your name called and then respond with a verbal aye, a nay, or an abstention. Finally, we need to identify each person who's joining the meeting remotely this evening so that we can accurately reflect the attendance in the minutes of the meeting. I'll perform a roll call for the board members, followed by staff and consultants. When you hear your name or your company called, please respond by indicating that you're present in the meeting. Likewise, if you need to leave the meeting before it adjourns, please announce that you're doing so before you disconnect. Once I've completed the roll call for directors, staff, and consultants, I'll ask for any members of the public to identify themselves for the record. Starting with the roll call for our board of directors, Scott Haynes.
I'm present.
Jan Price.
Present.
Mamie Polk.
Present.
And Sheila Faxel's still on here, but that position is vacant. And John Yours.
Present.
Okay. Let's see. All right, that will complete the roll call for our directors. We'll move on to Woodlands Water staff. Jim Stinson.
Present.
Mike Mooney.
Present.
Maureen Bourgeois. Maureen, are you in the meeting?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Jeannie Scott.
I'm here.
Shelley Lawson Kennedy.
Present.
Anyone else from Woodlands Water in the meeting? All right, we'll move on to San Jacinto River Authority. Ron Kelly.
Present.
Ed Shackelford.
Present.
Chris Meeks.
Present.
Matt Corley.
Present.
Anyone else from the River Authority in the meeting?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on to MUD 36 consultants. Do we have any MUD 36 consultants in the meeting? And members of the public. Do we have any members of the public present in the meeting? We need to identify you for the record as well.
My name is Pamela Fontenot. I'm a resident of the MUD 36 district.
Okay, welcome. Any other members of the public present in the meeting? If not, Maureen, does that cover everyone who's logged into the meeting?
That's everybody.
All right, that'll complete the roll call. Scott, I'll hand it over to you to begin the agenda. Thank you.
All right, Brian, thank you very much. First item to consider is receive comments from the public. Pam, we're glad to see you here again tonight. Item 3, consider and act on requests for adjustments to or relief from specific charges imposed by the district.
This is Jeannie, and I don't have any.
And this is Mike. I have none either.
All right, great. We'll move now to the consent agenda. Are there any items in the consent agenda that a director would like to be placed in the regular agenda? If there are not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
This is Mamie. I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of approving consent agenda will have a roll call vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Mamie Polk,
Aye.
John Yours.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. We will proceed to item 8 under the regular agenda. Consider and/or act on appointment of Director of Pamela Fontenot to fill the vacancy of the Board of Directors, including the following matters listed A through F. Do I need to recite all of those, Brian?
This is Brian. So no, I can go through these
Great.
with Pamela. And do you go by Pamela or Pam?
Sorry, Pam, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I go by Pam. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Board, I guess before we go to accepting qualification statements and going through all the formalities, did y'all have any additional questions for Pam before we would move forward with considering formal appointment?
This is Scott. I have no further questions. I think Pam would be a great choice.
Thank you.
This is Jan. I agree.
Thank you.
So Brian, I guess we have no more questions.
Okay, very good. Then we'll go ahead and move on to the formalities here of seating you, Pamela. I assume you did receive the documentation to fill out for being seated on the board?
Pam, you're back on mute.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, we and Peyton Ellis, my paralegal for the district, may have explained to you that the Secretary of State's office let me back up. Typically, our meetings are always in person. I don't know how familiar you are with MUD meetings, but it's extremely unusual to have remote meetings. And it's really a first with it being this COVID environment. It's drug on a lot longer than I think anybody could have possibly anticipated. So with us meeting remotely, we've had to get direction from the Secretary of State on some matters related to elections, because generally we meet in person, and when somebody is seated for a board position, we go through the oath of office in person. You know, you raise your right hand, we go through the oath, and you're seated. We obviously can't do that when we're remote. And so we got some direction from the Secretary of State's office for how to seat directors in this remote meeting environment. And so the direction that we've received from Secretary of State is to first confirm with the individual being seated that they have completed their statement of appointed officer and their affidavit of current director. So can you confirm for the record that you have completed your statement of appointed officer and your affidavit of current director?
I'm going to have to defer to Shelley. I signed some papers today and left them with her.
Yes, Brian.
Okay. All right. So, Shelley, she has completed those documents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Then we do have those documents then executed, so we can move forward with the actual oath. So I'm going to go ahead and read the oath for you, Pam. You don't have to recite the whole thing, just at the end, if you agree, if you'll say that I will or I do, and then we'll go ahead and be able to seat you on the board. So do you, Pam Fontenot, solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Director of Montgomery County MUD number 36 of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of your ability, preserve, protect, and defend the laws of the United States and of this state, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, very good. And your name for the record?
This is Pamela Fontenot.
Okay, thank you, Pam. So we have completed the oath of office, board, and we do have the statement of the appointed director and the affidavit of the current director, and the acceptance of the qualification statement, bond, oath of office, affidavit, and election not to disclose under item A. We can consider a motion to accept those documents, and then Pam will be formally seated on the board, and then we can go through items B through F. So do we have a motion to accept the items listed under 8A on the agenda?
So moved. This is Scott Haynes. I move to accept those.
Okay, we have a motion by Scott. Do we have a second?
This is Mamie. Second.
Okay, we have a
Excuse me.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, we'll call the vote. Scott, how do you vote?
Aye.
Jan,
Aye.
Mamie,
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Pam, welcome aboard. You're officially now a board member and you can participate in the remainder of the meeting.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to serving with you
Thank you, I do too.
and meeting you one day.
Yes.
Yeah, Brian, you were the few people she's never seen. I
Yeah,
wish you had Schwartz Page would let you get a computer.
I'm still banging away on one of those old typewriters. You don't hear it kind
No,
of
you
swing
are.
back every once in a while?
I know you are. So this
All right,
completes,
so we'll-
this completes everything under item 8.
Correct.
Okay. We will move to item 9, receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division report. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
Yep, this is Brian. So we do need to consider item number B, election of officers to the board.
Oh,
Sheila was an assistant secretary on the board, so if Pam, if you're willing to serve as an assistant secretary, then we could consider a vote by the board to have you seated as the new assistant secretary. We have 2 of those in the event that we need a secretary to be able to sign documents and our primary secretary and one of the assistants are not available, then we have another person who would be able to sign documents on behalf of the district.
I move that the board of directors be reinstated with Pam as assistant secretary, Pam Fondo as assistant secretary. Do we have a second?
This is Jan. I'll second that, please.
We'll vote on the motion. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Amy Polk,
Aye.
John Yours,
Aye.
Pamela Fondo.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, well, this is Brian. So I'll go ahead and group C and D together. These are just housekeeping items. Whenever we add another board member, we need to approve an amended district registration form. That's a factual document that's filed with the TCEQ. It has information regarding the directors on it. So we need to now reflect that Pam is a board member and what her officer position is. So we need to approve that, and then we'll get that filed with the TCEQ. And then under D, we need to update our local government officers list in connection with conflict of interest disclosure requirements. So this list is comprised of your board members and your investment officer. And it's kept in the records of the district so that if a vendor wants to see whether or not they have a conflict that they need to disclose, they ask for this list and they can look at it and figure out, okay, do I have a conflict with any of these individuals that I would need to disclose? So we need to update that to include Pamela on that list. And then E and F, these are just standard items, Pam, regarding your training requirements. You're required to do an hour of training for both the Texas Open Meeting Act and the Texas Public Information Act. You can do that online, and then once you complete it, you'll get a certificate of completion. If you would give that to Shelley once you're done, and she will keep that in your director file to evidence your compliance. And then F, you should have had a memo regarding conflicts disclosures in your packet. If you got any questions about that, we can visit offline. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. No action is necessary on E or F. We do need action on C and D to approve the amended district registration form and to approve the updated local government officers list.
Can that be just one motion?
This is Brian. Yes, we can take a motion to approve items C and D under item 8 on the agenda.
So I move to approve the amended district regulation form and to update the local government officers list in connection with conflict of interest disclosures. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. We'll now vote. Roll call, Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Mamie Polk,
Aye.
John Yours,
Aye.
Pam Fondo.
Aye.
Motion carries. Excuse me. Now we're through with item 8 on the agenda, Brian.
This is Brian. Yes, we are finished with item 8.
Okay, great. Pam, we're looking forward to you serving with us. Item 9, receive the San Jacinto River Authority Woodlands Division Report. Hello, Chris.
This is Matt Corley. I'll be giving the
Oh.
report this evening. How are you doing, directors? If you look on page 15, it's the beginning of your monthly operations report for the Woodlands Division. Like to highlight some data. Our groundwater surface water blend ratio fiscal year to date is 48% groundwater, 52% surface water. Again, that's fiscal year to date, so September of 2020 through April of 2021. Be happy to answer any questions related to the report. If there are no questions, I know Mr. Kelling had an update regarding GMA 14.
Are there any questions for Matt? All right, thank you, Matt. Ron, go right ahead.
Thanks, directors. Just to remind you all that the proposed DFCs have been issued and they will be complete. They need to be, they're in a 90-day comment period, which will be completed in the middle of July. Lone Star will be hosting a public hearing on these items. I know that you have an item later on in your agenda to address that. We would always encourage, if there's some folks that could actually go to the Lone Star board meeting and at the public hearing and make verbal comments. Sometimes that has more impact than just giving them some papers. Once we find out what date that's going to be, it's either going to be the 7th, 8th, or 9th. We'll let Jim know so he can distribute that to all the directors. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. If not, I think Ed has one item.
Yes, I do. Good evening, directors. Congratulations, Pamela. Welcome to the MUD. In Jim's summary or Jim's general manager report, there is a summary on the Trinity River water supply option. This was presented at the trustees meeting a week or so last week. And San Jacinto River Authority has this option contract for water. It's 50,000 acre feet. There are some contract provisions that have to be pursued beginning at the end of this year. And it's for adding to the long-term water supply that would be available by the River Authority in Montgomery County. The question is, would you like to see the presentation tonight or have an opportunity to read the summary and then we can talk about it? I have sent the PowerPoint to Jim to put on the Google Drive so that y'all can access it. But the basic is we have presented it to the other MUDs. There, for the most part, there's a, let me rephrase that. We've heard favorable remarks from all of the MUDs so far. Jim has talked about getting with each one of you all to verify that each of the MUDs is willing to offer a favorable response. What we're looking for is either a jointly signed letter from MUD or someone to come to the board meeting the fourth Thursday of August, to the San Jacinto River Authority board meeting, fourth Thursday of August, and present whether you're interested in SGRA retaining this water supply option. Now, to retain it, there is some cost to it, and ultimately there will be some construction expense associated with it. The cost is rough in 2028 and beyond, roughly 25 cents per household, assuming a 10,000 gallon connection, 10,000 gallon usage. So it's 2 cents per 1,000 gallons. That is necessary to maintain the reservation of the water. And then there would be added cost at some later date to build the project. I'm happy to, I know that was quick, and I'm happy to answer any questions, or I can actually put the PowerPoint up and we can walk through it real quickly. John, I see a
Right.
question forming on your face.
I was going to make a motion that we, as a MUD, support the retention of the privilege of getting the Trinity water, because long-term, Lake Conroe and Montgomery County needs the surface water to satisfy the needs of the county. So I propose that we, as a MUD, move to accept a positive response on the request.
And actually, there's no action item on this tonight, John. It was intended to be
Okay.
Introduced, and we'll have something in the next month or so to try to get all of our MUDs going together on this to give feedback to SJRA. But I think the sentiment has been so far that, yes, this is the smart thing to do and the right thing to do.
Right. Okay.
So I think what we're saying is that we'll look forward to seeing some information in the next meetings, next MUD
Yes, sir.
packet. We have a few other things to consider tonight for our district that in basis of time, I think we'll save the time right now for future meetings to go over in more detail.
Fully understand.
That being said, does anyone have any questions for Matt, Ron, or Ed, or any comments?
And now Chris is up to talk about money and budget.
That's right. Now it's welcome, Chris. Chris, receive and discuss River Authority Woodlands Division budget.
Well, let me get my screen ready, and please let me know when y'all can see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Appreciate it. All right, so this is everybody's favorite time of the year to talk about budgets. The good news is this is not an action item for tonight. This item is just for presentation purposes, just to get the information out there. Similar to the TRA information, Jim has the package. Excuse me. So you can get it from him if it is not on the Google Drive, but excuse me. Just to let you know, this presentation tonight's high level. I'm actually going to go through the first 3 or 4 slides. Everything after that is just informational purposes for y'all to take a look at. Another information is that the GRP Review Committee has not approved their rates. They're set to take action on that Monday, May 24th. Once they approve the rates, if there is any change in the rates, which currently the review committee is discussing a potential reduction from what we have proposed. If they do go forward with that reduction to the proposed rate, then the Woodlands Division budget will be adjusted to include those new rates from the GRP division, which I'll talk to more here in just a minute. But another thing with our presentation, as you'll see on this slide, is we flipped the presentation. Everything that was at the end, basically the punchlines now at the beginning, all the information on how we developed the budget, how we came to the numbers, is in the back of the budget. So to kind of start, demands are flat. The Woodlands was growing for a number of years, but as y'all know, recently there's not been as much new development growth and just expansion in general. So sales are not going up. The good news is they don't appear to be going down at this time. They appear to be staying stable. We are proposing a 65% groundwater, 35% surface water. That blend ratio keeps the GRP plant at 12 million gallons a day, which it was for the last couple of years as well. We are proposing a 5% water and wastewater rate increase. A couple of the reasons is due to the ongoing renewal of the aging water and wastewater system. The topic that we've been talking about for a number of years, the Woodlands is not getting any younger. The assets that were put in the ground in 1975, 1980, they're becoming at the end of their useful life. which also goes to the fourth bullet, which is an increase in the R&R funding, which, as y'all recall, is for the larger projects, the water line replacements, the basin replacements, tank replacements, and stuff like that. So increase that funding by $500,000. Then, of course, the O&M and emergency reserves are fully funded. So looking just at the wholesale water rates, what we wanted to show you here is the last 5 years worth of wholesale water rates, the increase in dollars, and then the increase in percentage. Then on the far right, what you see is the proposed FY 2022 5% rate increase, which is 11 cents per 1,000 gallons. Same information's on this slide, except for relating to the wastewater rates. Same 5-year history, same information. On the far right, your proposed FY 2022, 5% increase and 23 cents per 1,000 gallons. As I had mentioned earlier, this slide is the GRP rates. What you're looking at on this slide on the very bottom in the light blue is the GRP fee. It's also referred to as the surface water conversion fee and the blended fee. On the far right, that's in bold and underlined, the $3.07 is the current proposed rate from blended fee. If the GRP review committee changes the rates or recommends a different rate that is 4 cents lower, that rate would actually go down to $3.03. And they will vote on that, or they will take action on that, hopefully Monday, May 24th. Everything after this is just regular information. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Chris? Chris, you're saying that the GRP rate will be set by the end of the month.
The GRP rate will be recommended by the review committee to our board, and our board will vote on it on May 27th, I believe it is, 26th.
That's exactly what I meant to say. Thank you.
Well, we said the same thing. I just added a little bit.
You made it more accurate. Any questions for Chris? If not, the time frame for this is that this will be, the Woodlands Division budget will be prepared and then approved, and then it'll move forward as it impacts our MUD budgets.
Correct. So just a little bit on the timeline. So we present this month. In June, we answer any questions. If the budget is revised, we present that as well. Just put it out there. In July is when the MUDs will direct their trustee on how to vote in the trustees meeting in August. So the second Wednesday of August. So between this meeting and basically the second Wednesday in August, it's just open for discussion and comments.
Thanks, Chris. We continue to have new board members, and they'll need to understand how this stuff all fits together. So some of these statements I'm making, everybody's aware of, but this will be new for some of them. So,
yes, sir.
All right. So we'll look forward to continued review of the information in the next couple of months. Item 11, receive water well data concerning the water tables. Who will be discussing this, Jim?
I'm guessing this was requested by John.
We did that last month.
Okay, then we made a mistake and it should be off the agenda. Skip it,
Yeah.
please.
No, they did.
No, we've covered it, and we will move on to item 12, the attorney's report. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Scott. So under the attorney's report, I've been updating boards on the legislative session. We're down to 2 weeks to go. It's pretty much 24/7 at the Capitol from now until the end of the session. I think I mentioned to y'all at a previous meeting that the bill passage rate is only about 15%. So each session, so folks are scrambling right now to try to get theirs in the 15% range and not in the 85% kill rate range. So there's a lot of activity at the Capitol right now. If there are particular bills that any of you are interested in, would encourage you to go to that bill tracker list that was provided, I think, before the last slate of board meetings. Click on those hyperlinks for the bills, and it will take you directly to the Texas Legislature online website, which has a lot of good information about bills. It has basically a real-time tracker for where bills are in the legislative process, if they're in a committee hearing, if they're on the floor, if they're on the governor's desk. So you can get really good updates there. Also, it has language changes for bills. So if there was one version that was introduced and there's been a committee substitute, it'll have that updated language on there. So encourage you to check that out if there's a particular bill or more than one that you're tracking. One bill that I have been bringing up to boards is House Bill 1118 that has already been passed and has actually been signed by the governor. It modifies the cybersecurity training legislation that was passed in the 2019 session. Y'all may recall back in 2019 when that legislation was first passed, we talked about the fact that the plain language of the statute seemed to indicate that you should not have to complete the training if you didn't have access to a computer system that would be susceptible to a cybersecurity threat, which is complete common sense. Unfortunately, the Texas Department of Information Resources, the entity that was tasked with implementing the cybersecurity bill, took a very expansive interpretation of that statute to essentially require folks to complete the training, even if they had no access to a system that was subject to a cybersecurity threat. We talked about how that didn't make a lot of sense, but the DIR was tasked with implementing this bill, and so we recommended that boards go ahead and comply with the guidance that they provided. Well, the legislature has now essentially overrode that interpretation with House Bill 1118. The new bill provides much needed clarification to state that only folks such as MUD directors that have access to a local government computer system or database and that use that system or database to perform at least 25% of their duties are required to complete the training. Now, Woodlands Water employees, of course, are going to continue to be required to complete the training requirement. They have access to those databases and systems and use them every day to perform their duties. Directors for lion's share of MUDs in Texas don't need to complete the training. Woodlands is a little bit of a gray area because you do get a lot of your information electronically through Woodlands Water's Google Drive. Yeah, I think it's arguable as to whether or not that would really qualify, but I think the safe route is, when in doubt, go ahead and continue to complete the training on an annual basis. However, if directors feel confident that they do not use a Woodlands Water, if they do not use a Woodlands Water computer system or database for 25% of their duties, then you don't need to complete it. But that's going to be based on your particular facts and circumstances. So you can't really provide a one-size-fits-all guidance on that one. Also keep in mind that, as we talked about when the legislation was originally passed, there is no penalty component for non-compliance. So just something to keep in mind as you're making the determination as to whether or not your use of any Woodlands Water database or computer system would make you subject to the compliance requirements. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have. Otherwise, that will conclude my attorney's report.
Thank you for explaining that very thoroughly, Brian. Any questions for Brian? All right, thank you, Brian. Item 13, consider an act on resolution regarding the desired future conditions for aquifer management in Montgomery County.
This item is the result of a number of our directors wanting to put forth a consistent, unified message regarding groundwater management and DFCs in Montgomery County. So it's been put on each MUD's agenda this week for consideration and approval, and it was passed by the Woodlands Water Agency trustees on Wednesday. So I know John, I think maybe has had some input into the crafting of this along with some others. So please, we recommend that you support this and adopt this resolution, and it will be transferred to the Lone Star Groundwater District.
Have all the other districts approved this?
Yes.
Okay.
John, you want to make some comments?
No, I think it's important that we continue to let Lone Star understand that we are concerned about subsidence. Lone Star is continuing to say they don't want a subsidence metric in the DFC. This basically confirms our desire that subsidence metric stays in the DFC at the public level. And I think it's important that we approve this.
Scott, I do too, and I move to approve the resolution regarding the desired future conditions for aquifer management in Montgomery County.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. We'll now take a roll call vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Mamie Polk,
Aye.
John Yours,
Aye.
Pam Fontenot.
Aye.
Motion, the resolution is approved. I should come by and sign this. When do we need to, when did we plan, what's the time for presenting this? The time frame for presenting this resolution?
I think we've got several weeks. I can't remember when is your, Ron Kelling, do you remember when the deadline is?
Well, the deadline is middle of July. The public hearing is going to be either June 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th.
We'd like to get it in before the hearings in June, so next week if possible.
Okay. I'm sure Shelley will contact me, let me know when I need, because there's other documents I need to sign.
Okay.
Receive and act on Woodlands Water Agency staff update regarding lease purchase options for AMI project.
The terms that were reviewed and discussed last month with US Bank did not work out. They ended up declining the application from MUD 60 or declining to fund this. So we went to another lender, First Security. And I think Shelley sent out the terms of that earlier this afternoon. I hope
Yes.
you got them. If not, we can probably
Yes.
put them up. And I did send it to Brian. Brian, have you had a chance to look at any of this and have any thoughts?
This is Brian. Very, very briefly, there is some federal tax documentation in there that I am going to have to look at a good bit more closely. And we, depending on how involved it is, we may need to bring in our outside special tax counsel to have them take a look at it as well. So just received that stuff today, but we'll have more direction next month.
And I think there's a resolution that was included in the packet. Is it too premature for the board to act on that resolution to keep this ball rolling, Brian?
This is Brian. I think so. There was just a lot of more documentation in there than what I would have expected, and especially some of the federal tax information related to leases and whatnot that we're going to have to look at more closely, I think, before we get too deep into this.
Okay, well, I would just, if you had a chance to look at the schedule, you're still needing to take action on some sort of a mechanism to collect money to help repay whatever loan you do select. And we've got an agenda item on there to look at retail water and sewer rates. So we're still looking at at least $10 or $11 per household per month, or per meter per month, to help adequately fund this AMI lease purchase agreement. So, and I see Tim with Amoresco just got on the line. Tim, do you have, I don't know if you heard our comments before now, but our attorney just informed us that he's going to need some more time to review the documents. Do you think the terms will remain as they are for at least another 30 days?
Yeah, well, 30 days is kind of a stretch. The documents don't have to be approved in final form normally, but if your attorney needs to review them, then that's what has to happen. So they allow for, well, there can be tweaks to the agreement, and that's a normal thing to have happen, comments that are given and adopted. But I guess I'm playing catch up here. I did not hear any of the comments previous. I can't guarantee that the terms will be the same in 30 days.
And Tim is the Amoresco representative working with Marine on the on this financial agreement. So.
Yeah, I'm the finance director. I'm a former public finance banker. I've been doing just energy deals for the last 11 years, and I'm happy to help.
Yeah, this is Scott Haynes. I'm the president of the board. What if some terms are not going to be able to change? Are we just talking about the dollar amount in total?
It would just be the interest rate would be the only thing that might change.
Okay, the interest rate might go up then. And it's currently 2.5% from what I can see here.
That's correct.
Well, we're gonna have to defer to our attorney and what his opinion is about this. So I'm afraid we're gonna have to wait another month for this. Or Brian, you tell me.
This is Brian. So, I mean, it has in here that the district resolves and approves as follows: the transaction documents, which includes the lease agreement, the escrow agreement, the federal tax agreement, which we have not looked at, at all. I just think it would be premature for the board to adopt a resolution approving these documents just about sight unseen.
And I am not going to make a decision that disagrees with I'm not going to recommend that the board make a decision without our attorney reviewing the document.
Would there be any benefit to considering maybe holding a special meeting before a 30-day period to try to execute some of this?
Get this moving, Jim. Brian?
This is Brian. I mean, it depends on what Amoresco is saying as far as the rate hold. I mean, what is the time period for the rate hold here? I'm going to likely be recommending that the board engage special tax counsel to look at some of this documentation. So, that's going to take a little bit of time to get set up.
Typically speaking, this is Tim again from Amoresco. Typically speaking, the rate can be held for 30 days. The initial proposal was sent, gosh, the date is on the proposal, but we got a revised one today, and rates did not really move much from the first proposal to the second revised one. So I can check with the lender and see if they can extend a 30-day rate lock. But it'll have to be more than that because the meeting will be the approval in 30 days and then the closing will be a week or 2 or 3 after that. So we need a
Yeah,
probably
this is Brian.
45 or
We're in a
60
pretty
day.
stable rate environment. It doesn't seem unreasonable to have them, if they, if they want the business, to be willing to hold the rate a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I'm happy to ask, but I can't give you an answer here and now.
I believe that means we're going to have to wait till next month.
Okay, well, Tim, thank you for your input, and we'll have it on your agenda next month.
Pleasure. Thank you all.
And briefly, Pam, what this is related to is we are updating the water meters in our district. The money that's going to be required to pay for this exceeds what we have in our bank account. So we pursued, and just correct me if I'm anybody correct me if I'm wrong. We're going to finance the cost with a note payable, and we'll be paying for it with a monthly fee on a account by account basis in the district until then. So that's what we're doing right now, is trying to work through the finances of taking care of that. And I'm sure it could be explained better or more accurately, but that's as best I can do tonight. We will move to item 15. Consider an act on providing storm drain markers to reduce waterway pollutants for community volunteer projects.
This is a request that you authorize us to spend up to $1,000 a year in storm drain markers and adhesives for community volunteer projects like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We're seeing a rise in the request of these type projects. So we're asking all the MUDs to allocate this money for this public service volunteer effort.
I think there's pictures of this in the packet, as I recall.
That is correct.
And I'm a firm supporter of the Boy Scouts. Any comments or questions about this, or if not, do we have a motion for the?
I have a question. Is there any thought given to putting these markers on anywhere on the ditches? Because we've all seen people dumping things in the ditches, I'm sure.
No, not this marker. This marker is specifically designed to go on concrete, usually around an inlet or some sort of a storm inlet.
Right.
But we could look at another sign for drainage ditches, but this is a small marker that's designed just for concrete curb inlets primarily.
Maybe we should do that.
So do we have a motion for these storm drain markers?
I make a motion that we approve the $1,000 for the markers.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
This is Mamie. I second.
Motion's been made and second. We'll now have a roll call vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Mamie Polk,
Aye.
John Yours,
Aye.
Pam Fontenot.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Item 16, consider and act on River Authority GRP option to provide Woodlands MUDs a 50-50% blend of surface water and groundwater.
I asked that this be put on the agenda just so that we could give Jan some direction. This is going to come up at several of the next trustees meetings about the option for us to move back to 50-50. If you look at PAM 13, the most recent data shows that we are entering a little bit more into a subsidence mode. And we believe moving back to 50/50 will retard that trend and put us back on a stable, no subsidence effort. So all I wanted for us as a group, just to let Jan know that we support this. And when it comes up in the future trustees meeting, that she would have some direction from us to understand how we felt.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that.
I thank you too, John. Do we have a motion for the 50/50 blend of surface and groundwater?
I'll make that motion that we support the 50/50 blend of groundwater and surface water.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and second. We'll now vote. Scott Haynes, aye. Jan Price,
Aye.
Mamie Polk,
Aye.
John Yours,
Aye.
Pam Fondo.
Aye.
All right. Number 17, consider an act on MUD 36 retail water and sewer rates.
This item is, I think John has been talking with Maureen about maybe adjusting your water rate structure. And then this is an opportunity to talk about implementing a fee on your water bill to cover the lease purchase agreement when and if that happens for meter installs.
John, did you have anything to say about it, or?
Well, this month we were $23,000 underwater on our budget. Our maintenance fees are running higher than budget, and we're not going to have any more tax revenue. So my concern is for the remainder of the year, we're going to be at a deficit each month and working off some of our reserves. So what I wanted Maureen to do was to look and see if it was possible for us to raise the meter fees for the high volume users, the commercial users, maybe the sprinkler users, and see if that would generate a little extra revenue for us to bring us back in line with our spending.
How significant an increase do you think it would take, John?
We need about $10,000 or $15,000 a month to bring us back to neutral.
Jim, are we going to be able to work something up on that?
Maureen, do you have any information to share on this?
The water sewer rates,
Yes.
only adding the fee for the whatever loan we're gonna wind up getting. But nothing additional on the actual rate.
That's a $10 fee a month, right?
It's gonna be about that, yes.
Let me work with Maureen on some numbers to come back next month with a proposal on the rates.
That'd be great, John. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Don't we usually do this in kind of the conjunction with our budget later in the year?
Well, we always
This is,
rates during the budget period, yes.
Thank you.
I think John.
yeah, this
John
is Brian. I think, yeah, go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
I think John is suggesting we may need to do something before that for the large volume users, and then certainly the fee we're talking about, the add-on fee could be adopted anytime, and I would recommend considering that sooner the better to start
Right.
collecting revenue to help with that. Brian, I'm sorry, go ahead.
This is Brian. No, I was just going to say that with what already happened with the one lender, I think it's very important for the district to start to generate this revenue and impose this additional fee as soon as possible and start to build up those reserves. That's going to be important as any lender looks at the financial position of the district.
And you could take action on that tonight.
Well, we don't have any kind of numbers or anything black and white we can really look at it here. I'm not in favor of pulling something out of the air. And that's just me as a one board member. I'm not saying we have to do it that way.
I'll work with Maureen to come back with something next month.
Okay. I think that'd be a wise idea. We'll move on to item 18, the general manager's report. Hello, Jim.
Okay, I've got a few items to cover from the trustee meeting. We had a number of trustees and directors encouraging us to make sure we didn't miss an opportunity to get some federal funding out of the American Jobs Plan, the Infrastructure Act. It's being discussed by the Biden administration. So we'll be looking at ways we can capitalize on that. Neil Gaynor, who's y'all supported as the new upper watershed voting member to the regional planning group, has not been appointed yet. They're now, I say they have 5 applicants and they're going to do interviews. So that process is slower than what we had hoped. Hark has prepared comments to the Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District's Phase 2 subsidence plan. I know John had asked me about that. John, I'll get you those comments. They are pretty thorough.
Thank you.
They're also working on identifying what their Science Advisory Committee would recommend for extensometer sites and GPS monitoring sites in Montgomery County for subsidence. I'm still in discussions with your residents regarding the AMI pole installation over near Slash Pine. We've identified a potential relocation to Sawmill Park. I'm still vetting that with the Woodlands Township, and we'll be reporting more on that in the next month or so. The San Jacinto River Authority staff reported on the preliminary engineering report at the trustee meeting for the Tin Man. If you remember, the trustees authorized moving forward with that preliminary engineering report. The findings from that were, I think they were recommending 5 different manufacturers and 5 different types of fans for a bio-trickling filter. The trustees recommended that be narrowed down to no more than 3. And Chris Meeks also reported that he has information about an additive, a chemical additive to the treatments collection system that might help with odor. They authorized him to go forward with that trial as well. And in your packet, there's a Woodlands Water Agency operational efficiency information that Maureen has put together, things that she and staff have implemented over the last several months to improve our efficiency. That's a regular agenda item at the trustee level, so please take a look at that. I think it's very, very positive. And that concludes my report.
Jim, this is Scott. I think in the packet, I'm not sure exactly what page it is, there's 2 options presented for the moving the communications pole. Can you just, am I correct on that?
Yeah, and there again, there's no options really presented. This is just an update, but that's to give you an order of magnitude numbers of what we're looking at for relocation. Different poles, different heights, different service coverage. This will be fine-tuned over the next month or so as we get more information. This is just an update. But in general, we're looking at well over $200,000 to relocate the pole.
I don't know if our other directors have seen this or not, but it looks like It's ranging from anywhere from 250,000 to 375,000, correct? These two options. Does that sound right, Jim?
That's about right, yes. And those aren't firm. That's just preliminary data that I'm giving you as I get it, as we're trying to fine tune this review.
How will that cost be split up, or who will pay for it?
To be determined.
Okay.
Very well said, Jim. Any questions for Jim? Questions or comments?
Well, I have a question. Why does the pole need to be moved?
Pam, it's a very good question. The location of the pole is near some homes in the, oh gosh, I've seen it. I can't remember the name of the neighborhood.
We call it by the Slash Pine water plant. Off of Slash Pine Drive.
And it's the retreat. It's very, it's just an obvious pole. That's the view from several of our residents have posted complaints about it.
Okay.
And it was not one that was vetted before it was installed. And so as a result, we've had some residents, including some friends of mine or former neighbors that are, have requested that it be moved.
Thank you.
We can, I'm sure we can share with Pam the location so she could see it if she'd like to. A good question, Pam. Any other questions for Jim?
But that's a good point. I would encourage all the directors at some point taking an infield, a look at this, so you'll know when we get to the point of making a decision, you'll have at least seen what it looks like in the field.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. We'll move on to item 19, receive the Woodlands Water Trustees Report. Hello, Jan.
Hi, everybody. That's pages 33 to 35 in the packet. And once again, Jim has done a masterful job of covering everything in the report as far as I can see. Pretty much. If anybody has any additional questions, I'll be happy to give my best answer. But one thing I do want to tell you about is my favorite part of the meeting of all was when Paul Martin suggested that the board consider a proclamation of appreciation to the Woodlands Water staff for their hard work all during this ice storm and so on. And a one-time stipend not to exceed $700 per person. I think that that would be a very generous and appropriate thing to do. Anybody have any questions? I'll be happy to answer.
I would certainly be in favor of their proclamation. I believe our engineer knows that I contacted him a few times directly and even tried to help to an extent. But I know how much on a personal basis, how the staff has helped out out in the field and during that time frame. Any questions for Jan or comments or? All right, Jan, thank you very much. Appreciate everybody hanging in here with us tonight. Any items that we need to place on future agenda? I think we're going to have something in there about the funding for which one was that?
We'll have information about looking at retail water and sewer rates and the funding of the AMI or lease purchase agreement with the
That's right. I guess that's item 14 needs to be presented again next month.
Yes.
You know, Pam, I realized, have you had copies of the packet for your review?
Yes, Shelley gave me one this morning.
Great, because I could not imagine trying to sit through this for an hour without that type of information available.
It did help.
Great. All right, well, I appreciate everybody hanging with us tonight. If there's anything that in the meantime we need to present, contact Jim to get it put on the agenda. Thank y'all very much for being here tonight.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Good
good one.
night.
Thanks, Scott.